welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really getting into the story of Hera, the Olympian queen of the gods. Now, when you mention Hera, I think a lot of us, well, we immediately picture this wrathful, maybe jealous figure always going after Zeus's, well, his many, many affairs.
That image is definitely strong in the myths. You can't really ignore it. It's there. But for this deep dive, we really want to push past that surface impression. We're aiming to uncover, the deeper layers of Hera's power, her actual authority, and what she truly represented in the Olympian setup. What was her core role?
Exactly. And we've got quite a bit to draw on here, the big texts like Homer, Hesiod, but also different ways people have interpreted her role over time. So yeah, get ready. We're going to unpack the real clout and impact of the Queen of the Gods.
Okay, so first things first, let's establish her actual authority. She wasn't just Zeus's wife. She was Queen of the Gods, shared the throne on Olympus. That's the central seat of power, right? This gave her immense prestige. Even when she clashed with Zeus, and she often did, her voice carried serious weight in divine discussions.
Absolutely. And her specific domains are key, aren't they? She wasn't just queen in name. Goddess of marriage, women, childbirth, family. I mean, think about that. Those are the absolute foundations for human society and for divine order, too, presumably. She was the one who sanctioned marriage vows. Break them, and you answer to Hera. So beyond just being in charge of marriage, what did that mean practically for, ancient Greeks or their view of the cosmos?
That's a great point. Her protection of marriage, it had huge societal weight. Marriages were seen as divinely backed, you see. They ensured social stability, legitimate heirs, status, property. Hera's authority basically provided the divine blueprint for family life. And as goddess of childbirth, people prayed to her for safe deliveries. That directly impacts, the continuation of families, the community's health.
And her power wasn't just sort of symbolic or social, right? What about her divine abilities?
Oh, definitely not just symbolic. What's really fascinating is the range of her power. She could manipulate weather, like summon massive storms, a real force of nature. And she could give blessings, sure, but just as easily unleash pretty devastating curses. Plus, her sacred animals, the peacock, the cow, they weren't just pets. They underlined her majesty, her power. Her presence demanded respect. And, sometimes outright fear.
And looking at the big myths, like the Trojan War, she wasn't just sitting on the sidelines.
She was strategic, deeply involved, not at all passive. A major player. Cunning, yes. Rallied other gods to her side. She was absolutely determined that her chosen side would win. Think about how she manipulated Athena, Poseidon against Troy. That's not just picking sides, it's calculated. It shows real political skill on Olympus. Her wrath, in that context, it wasn't just like a personal tantrum. It was a powerful force shaping destinies. Heroes, whole cities.
Right, which brings us back to that famous jealousy and wrath. If we connect it, like you said, to her role as guardian of marriage, it changes things.
It really does. Maybe her reactions weren't just about personal hurt, though I'm sure that was part of it. Perhaps it was more fundamentally a defense of her sacred territory, marriage itself, against Zeus constantly trampling on it, undermining her authority as the goddess of marriage.
That does shift the perspective quite a bit. Not just a scorned wife, but a defender of a core principle of their whole world order. But then her methods, often indirect, right? Curses on the lovers, the children. Not so much direct confrontation with Zeus himself. Was that weakness or something else?
That's a really critical question to unpack. Weakness, or maybe a strategic choice. Think about the power structure on Olympus. It was patriarchal, a direct all-out challenge to Zeus. That could have been disastrous for her. So maybe operating through others, using curses, that was her way of exerting influence, a persistent, if subtle, form of power within those constraints.
Like she was playing the long game, using the tools she actually had available. Which leads to that paradox. She's queen, second only to Zeus in theory, but often seems undermined. Did her constant pushing back, even when it cost her, maybe subtly put limits on Zeus? Did it carve out a kind of female divine authority, even if it was always being contested?
That's a really interesting way to look at it. Her resistance, even when she was punished or seemingly defeated, it might have established a kind of boundary, a constant reminder that her authority, while different from Zeus's raw power, couldn't just be ignored entirely.
And let's talk about her as a mother, goddess of childbirth, yet her own experiences. They're fraught. Birthing Hephaestus alone, rejecting him. Her relationship with Ares seems kind of distant, too.
Yeah, it's complicated.
Does that tell us something about the pressures or sacrifices of her divine role? Was it divine necessity or maybe more personal pain, the burden of being this powerful female figure?
The contrast is stark, isn't it? The nurturing goddess overseeing births versus her own difficult experiences as a mother. It definitely suggests, I think, deeper complexities. Maybe hints at the immense pressures, the unique challenges, even for someone as powerful as her within that mythological system.
And then there's the really tough part, her targeting the innocent children of Zeus's affairs. It seems so
Oh,
cruel. How do you reconcile the goddess of women and childbirth with that kind of vengeance against victims?
it is difficult, very difficult from our perspective.
Was it just pure pain lashing out? Or could it be some kind of, I don't know, darker divine justice logic that we just don't grasp?
It's deeply unsettling, no question. And it forces you to consider that maybe divine justice, or what they saw as justice, operates differently from human morality. Perhaps her actions, however harsh they look to us, were seen as necessary to uphold the sanctity of her domain, the established order, in a way that went beyond individual innocence.
It definitely messes with any simple ideas of good versus evil with these gods. They're complex. And what about when her revenge didn't work? Like all her efforts against Hercules. Did that show a limit to her power?
Possibly a limit, yes. Or maybe those stories served another purpose, narratively speaking. Perhaps they were needed to build up the hero, Hercules in this case, or to show the power of fate, which even gods might be subject to. Or maybe it illustrates that even the queen of the gods couldn't always get her way, that there were limits on any single divine will.
So it keeps circling back to this idea. Hera's wrath, yeah, it's dramatic, often destructive, but the root seems to be this profound sense that something sacred to her role was violated. Her power isn't just about, throwing lightning bolts away as a Zeus, but her commitment to her domains.
Precisely. It's tied to her identity, her function. And if you put that into the context of ancient Greece, the society, it's hard not to see her story as reflecting, maybe, the struggles within a patriarchal system. Her constant fight to assert authority against Zeus could be seen as a kind of divine echo of the challenges real women face trying to claim power or agency.
That's a powerful lens to view it through.
Yeah.
You could even take her jealousy further, couldn't you? Maybe it's not just personal, but symbolic. Representing the tension between chaos, maybe represented by Zeus's uncontrolled urges and order. Hera demanding boundaries, consequences.
Exactly. That's a fascinating interpretation. Zeus as this expansive, chaotic force, and Hera representing the need for structure, for rules, for balance. Her reactions, even the extreme ones, could then be seen as attempts to pull things back into equilibrium, to ensure actions, especially those threatening the order she guards, have consequences.
And maybe, just maybe, her greatest power was simply her endurance, her resilience. Think about it, despite everything Zeus did, the constant betrayals, the challenges, she stayed queen. She was never actually deposed.
Right.
That sheer persistence, that refusal to be broken or cast aside, that says something incredibly powerful about her authority, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Her ability to endure, to hold her position, her inherent authority, despite constant undermining, that speaks volumes. It wasn't always about winning every battle, perhaps, but about that unshakable presence,
Wow.
that staying power.
So when you put it all together, what does Hera's whole story tell us about divine justice, or even divine power itself? It suggests that even these incredibly powerful beings, well, they operate under constraints. They're bound by their own natures, their relationships, maybe some bigger cosmic order.
Yes, I think it definitely challenges any simple idea of gods being all-powerful, doing whatever they want. Even the king and queen of Olympus are caught in this complex web of roles, relationships, divine politics, and the rules of their own universe. Hera's struggles really highlight that intricacy, the power, the responsibility, the consequences, all tangled together in the divine realm.
So when you really dig in, Hera is so much more than the stereotypes, far more than just the jealous wife. She's this incredibly complex figure whose story explores huge themes: loyalty, betrayal, justice, that constant push and pull between chaos and order.
That's right. I think the key thing to take away is that her power goes way beyond just reacting with jealousy. She's a guardian of fundamental institutions, a genuine force of nature, and yeah, an embodiment of enduring will, of authority that persists. Her story really offers some profound lessons about what divine power even means.
A lot to think about there. And maybe that's the final thought we can leave you with. Reflect on what parts of Hera's complex story really stick with you, and maybe ask yourself why those aspects feel significant today. Thanks for joining us for this deep.